Welcome back to Undercover Waterproofing and Underpinning Secrets, the podcast from us here at DGI Waterproofing.
Great to be here again.
So if you're a homeowner in Canada, especially around the GTA, keeping your basement dry isn't just nice to have. It's pretty crucial.
Oh, absolutely. We talk to homeowners every single day dealing with this. Water damage is serious business. Affects your whole home's health, really.
And understanding the cost of fixing it, well, that can feel like a bit of a maze, can it? You see numbers all over the place.
Yeah, it's confusing. Hundreds, thousands. What's the real story? That's because, honestly, every single basement is different. What works for one house might not work next door.
Exactly. So today on Undercover, we're doing a deep dive to clear up that confusion. We want to unpack the real price of, well, peace of mind.
We're drawing on our own experience here at DGI, and specifically, we're looking at our blog post, Understanding the Cost of Basement Waterproofing. Factors to consider.
Right. Our mission today, to figure out what really drives those waterproofing costs for you, the Canadian homeowner. So let's jump right in. Why do the costs vary so much?
Okay, well, the biggest piece of the puzzle usually is the type of waterproofing method we actually need to use.
Right. We generally talk about two main approaches, don't we? Interior and exterior.
Exactly. Interior methods, think drainage systems inside, maybe vapor barriers on the walls, definitely a sump pump.
Stuff happening inside the basement.
Yeah, and as we mentioned in the blog, that's often less expensive up front. Why? Because we don't usually need to dig up the outside of your house.
No big excavation.
Right. It's more about managing water that's already getting in. Good for minor seepage, maybe.
Okay, so less invasive, potentially lower initial cost. But then there's the exterior approach. Sounds bigger.
It is definitely more labor intensive. We actually excavate down right to the foundation wall outside.
Wow, okay.
Then we apply a high-quality waterproof membrane, check or install weeping tile. It's comprehensive.
So you're stopping the water before it even gets to the foundation.
That's the idea. Our blog post calls it the most effective and long-lasting solution because you're hitting the problem at the source. But yeah, more work, more cost.
Makes sense. More involved, higher price tag. What about those smaller issues, like just a crack?
Good point. Crack injection. If it's just a specific crack leaking, we can often inject it with specialized sealants like epoxy or polyurethane.
And that's usually more budget-friendly.
Generally, yes. For a single isolated leak, it can be a really cost-effective fix.
But what if it's more than just one crack? Or the problem's just worse?
Right. Sometimes, especially with older homes or really persistent water problems, the absolute best approach is actually a combination. Doing some work inside and outside.
Okay, belt and suspenders.
Kind of. It gives you maximum protection, but obviously doing both is going to be, a bigger investment.
Right. So, method is huge. What else really moves the needle on cost when we're quoting a job at DGI?
Well, the sheer size and the layout of the basement itself, pretty straightforward, really.
Bigger basement, more wall space, more cost.
Exactly. More perimeter to cover, whether it's an interior drain or an exterior membrane. And it's not just size, it's complexity.
How so?
Think about irregular shapes. Lots of corners, bump outs, maybe a split-level foundation. That just makes the work trickier. It takes more time, more careful fitting of materials.
Like wrapping a weirdly shaped gift takes longer.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It definitely impacts the labor involved.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about how bad the problem actually is? Minor damp spot versus, actual flooding.
Huge difference. Massive. A little bit of moisture is one thing, but if you've had significant water intrusion, maybe actual standing water, then we're potentially looking at more than just waterproofing. We might need to deal with mold.
Oh, right. Mold remediation.
Exactly. Or even structural issues caused by the water. Cracks needing more than just injection. All that adds complexity and, well, cost.
Definitely want to catch things before it gets to that point.
Yeah.
What about the house itself? Does the age or construction type matter?
Oh, definitely. Especially here in the GTA, we see a lot of older homes. Their foundations might be, say, older concrete that's more porous, or even stone sometimes.
Right.
And the original drainage, if it even exists, might be failing or just totally inadequate by today's standards.
So waterproofing an older home might need a different touch?
It often does. Maybe more specialized techniques, maybe designing a whole new drainage system. It requires careful assessment.
Okay. And what about just getting to the work area? Does landscaping or access affect the price?
Absolutely, particularly for exterior waterproofing. If it's tough to get excavation equipment in narrow side yards, fences, mature trees we need to protect, or if there are decks, patios, driveways we have to remove and then carefully put back afterwards, that all takes extra time and labor. It has to be factored in.
Right. It's not just the digging and sealing. It's the whole process, getting in and out cleanly.
Exactly. Yeah. Logistics matter.
Okay, our blog also mentions materials and technology. How does that play into the cost? Is it a case of you get what you pay for?
Largely, yes. Like anything, there are different levels of quality and sophistication. Higher-end waterproof membranes designed to last decades will cost more initially than a basic option.
Makes sense.
Same with things like installing a backwater valve to prevent sewer backups or upgrading to a sump pump system with a battery backup for power outages. More protection, higher upfront cost.
And the blog gave some specific examples DGI uses, right? Crystalline waterproofing. Sounds fancy.
It is pretty advanced, yeah. It involves chemicals that react inside the concrete, creating crystals to block water permanently. Very effective, very long-lasting, but needs professional application, and it's generally at the higher end cost-wise.
Okay. And then the membranes we talked about.
Right. Exterior membranes are super effective, long-lasting, but you have the excavation cost. Interior membranes manage water inside, less initial cost, no digging, but maybe not as robust for heavy water pressure long-term.
And French drains.
Still a classic for managing groundwater. Effective, can last ages, but again, involves excavation and might not suit every property's soil or slope.
So lots of options, each with its own cost-benefit profile. Now, being based here in the GTA, the blog mentions local factors too, like labor rates and permits.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the equation. Labor costs in the Greater Toronto area are, well, generally higher than in some other parts of Canada. That's just a reality.
Okay.
And permits. For significant work, especially exterior excavation, you'll almost certainly need a municipal building permit. That permit has a fee associated with it.
And DGI handles that process for homeowners.
We do, yes. We navigate the application process to make sure everything's compliant, but the permit cost itself is something homeowners need to budget for.
Good to know. Okay, we've covered a lot of the whys behind the cost. Let's switch gears. What about practical advice for our listeners? How can they budget smartly for this?
Number one tip, always get multiple quotes. Seriously, don't just talk to one company.
At least 3.
At least 3, yeah. From reputable, licensed waterproofing professionals. Check that licensing and insurance. It gives you a baseline, helps you understand the scope needed for your house.
Absolutely crucial. And when they get those quotes, what should they look for? Just the bottom line number?
No, definitely not. You need a detailed breakdown. Ask questions. What exactly is included? What's excluded?
Like, are they covering the cost to put the landscaping back?
Precisely. What specific materials are they using? Is the sump pump included? Is permit cost in there? Get it itemized so you can compare apples to apples and avoid surprises.
No hidden fees. What if the quotes seem high or budget is tight? Any strategies?
Well, sometimes phasing the work is possible. If one area is critical, maybe tackle that first, then address less urgent areas later. You can also ask about financing options. Some companies, like us at DGI, might offer them.
Okay.
But here's the thing we always stress. Don't put cosmetic stuff ahead of waterproofing. Finishing a basement beautifully is pointless if the foundation's wet. Fix the water problem first. It's foundational, literally.
Couldn't agree more. Protect the core investment. So let's ask the big question. Is basement waterproofing actually worth it? Especially here in Canada.
Unequivocally, yes. Absolutely. Yeah. It's not an expense, it's an investment. Think about the alternative cost.
Mold remediation, structural repairs.
Damage to belongings, potential health issues, loss of usable space, decreased home value. Waterproofing prevents all that. It protects your structure, gives you a healthy space, adds value.
And especially here in the GTA, right? With our weather.
Exactly. Heavy rains, snow melt, the freeze-thaw cycles, that puts immense pressure on foundations. Around here, good waterproofing isn't a luxury, it's a necessity.
It really is about protecting your home and family. So for our listeners, what's the DGI waterproofing philosophy when we approach a job?
It boils down to transparency, quality, and a custom approach. We know every home is different. So we listen, we assess thoroughly, and then we tailor a solution that fits the specific problem and the homeowner's budget.
Whether it's a tiny crack or a full foundation system.
Right. Our goal is always the best, most durable protection for what matters most to you, your home.
Okay, so beyond just cost, What other key things should homeowners be thinking about before they even call for quotes?
Really try to pinpoint the source and the severity of the water. Is it seeping through walls, coming up from the floor, only after heavy rain?
Knowing where helps choose the what.
Exactly. Exterior water needs an exterior solution, generally. High humidity inside might just need better ventilation or a dehumidifier. And is it a minor nuisance or a major, frequent flood? Severity dictates the scale of the solution.
Makes sense. Diagnose before prescribing. Does the type of foundation matter too? Poured concrete versus block?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Poured concrete, concrete block, older stone foundations, they all behave differently and might need slightly different waterproofing techniques. An experienced contractor knows how to handle each type effectively.
And what about how you use the basement? Storage versus living space?
Definitely influences the decision. If it's just storage, maybe a basic level of dryness is okay. But if it's finished living space, or you plan to finish it, you'll want a much more robust system to guarantee it stays dry, healthy, and comfortable.
You need that higher level of protection for living areas.
Mm.
And we have to circle back. Budget always plays a role, right?
Always. It's about balancing that upfront cost with the long-term value and protection. We get that. We work with homeowners to find that right balance, exploring options that are effective, but also fit their financial reality.
Okay, so you've thought about the source, the severity, your foundation, how you use the space, your budget. Now, how do you pick the right contractor? This feels critical.
It is huge. First, look for experience and expertise, specifically in basement waterproofing, ideally right here in the GTA. Check their track record.
Ask for references, check reviews.
Yes. Ask for references, definitely read online reviews. Google reviews for local waterproofers are often very revealing about quality and service. You want proof they do good work and keep customers happy.
And we mentioned it before, but non-negotiables. Licensing and insurance.
Absolutely non-negotiable. Verify they are licensed to work in Ontario, have full liability insurance, and WSIB coverage. It protects you. Don't ever risk working with someone who isn't properly covered.
Okay. And when you get that quote, what should a professional one look like again?
Detailed, itemized, breaking down materials, labor, equipment, permits, everything. No vague numbers. Transparency is key so you know exactly what you're paying for.
And after the job's done, what about warranties?
Essential. Choose a contractor who stands behind their work with a solid warranty. Understand what it covers and for how long. It's your assurance if issues pop up later.
Good point. And just the overall feel. Communication.
Trust your gut, but also look for clear communication. Do they answer your questions patiently, explain things clearly, keep you updated? You need to feel comfortable and confident in who you hire. If communication feels off, that could be a warning sign.
That's all fantastic advice. Now, I know our DGI blog gives some ballpark figures just as examples.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give listeners a rough sense of those ranges, just keeping in mind they're very approximate?
Sure, with that big caveat, every job is unique. But, okay, exterior waterproofing in the GTA, maybe $150 to $400 plus per linear foot, depending on depth and complexity.
Right.
Interior systems, perhaps $75 to $250 per linear foot. Crack injections, highly variable, could be $500 to $2,000 plus per crack.
Wow, quite a range even there.
Yeah. If you look at it per square foot for a whole basement project, maybe $5 to $15, again, depending heavily on methods. Mold remediation could be a few $100 or tens of thousands if it's really bad.
Right.
Even waterproofing newer homes preventatively might run $3 to $8 per square foot. It just shows how specific it all is.
It really does hammer home that you need a custom quote.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone listening who wants that clear picture for their home, what's the next step?
Best thing to do, reach out to us at DGI Waterproofing directly, give us a call, visit our website. We offer a free, no-obligation assessment, end quote.
And we are top rated here in the GTA.
That's right. We'll come out, take a look, listen to your concerns, and give you a detailed, accurate estimate based on your actual situation. We're here 24/7 with same-day response, too.
Perfect. So as we wrap up this deep dive on waterproofing costs, what's the main takeaway for everyone listening?
I think it's that understanding these factors, the method, the size, the severity, the materials, empowers you to make smart decisions. Don't just look at price, look at the long-term value and protection for your home.
Absolutely. Especially in our Canadian climate, this isn't just an upgrade. It's vital protection for your home's health and value.
So maybe think about it now. What specific worries do you have about your basement? And based on what we discussed, what kind of solution might make sense for your home?
Really good questions to ponder. And if you're ready to get answers and protect your home, head over to our website, dgwaterproofing.ca. Schedule that free quote, learn more.
Whether it's sealing one crack or a full exterior system, we at DGI can create that customized solution.
From the ground up. So maybe the final thought for you today is, what's one small step you can take right now? Maybe just go downstairs and take a closer look.
Or maybe it's making that call you've been putting off. Whatever it is, take that step towards a drier, healthier home.